Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. I just wanted to start this video off by saying this is not a min-maxed build. There is still a lot that can be done to it. There's a lot of items and furniture that I have not tested on this build yet. And I will update the build as soon as I've gotten all the furniture and things that I want to try, and as soon as I've min-maxed it and got it at the perfect spot. But even as it is now, it is effective at doing Helm Wagers and Cutthroat Cargo, and it's incredibly easy to put together. Even someone who's just hit Kingpin can get these items for this pretty easily. The hardest item to get is probably going to be the Black Prince, which is still actually pretty easy to get. And it's also very easy to learn, but hard to master. So you can pick it up. The concept is very simple. You want to knock their sails and stay away from the enemy. Knock their sails, drop a mortar, knock their sails, drop a mortar, and that's basically it. That is how we damage them, and we stay alive by keeping distance far enough away from them that they can't really do effective damage to us, unless they're running a very similar build to us. So, I'm not going to do a full Helm Wager guide because that would make this video way too long. But if we can get this video to 100 likes, I will go ahead and do a separate video where I do a full Helm Wager guide and explain how they're triggered, what you need in order to trigger them, and then just a bunch of tips on how to be more successful at doing your Helm Wagers, because I've noticed a lot of people just flat out given up on them, and I'd like to see more of them going on because they are fun. The thrill, the excitement of knowing that you could potentially lose it, it's gambling, and everybody knows how addictive gambling can be. I'm already addicted to Helm Wagers. What I will do though is just give a couple quick tips on Helm Wagers. One, for this build especially, you always want your drop-off location to be an open ocean. You don't want it in a river system because people can spawn at the location and ambush you. It's very easy to tell where you're going, where the drop-off location is when you're going through a river, as well as people can just cut you off if there is a fast travel location in the river in between where you're going and the drop-off location. So as you see in this clip right here, it's incredibly easy for someone to just cut somebody off at the drop-off location, sink them very fast, take their helm chest, and turn it in right away. And especially in this build, it's really important because this build excels at staying far away from the enemy and knocking their sails and trying to get a good distance between us and the enemy before we go to turn that chest in, so that when we get in the circle, they do not have enough time to sink us. Now the second one is going to seem pretty obvious, but it's just go straight to the drop-off location. I have looked at the map and seen so many people who've activated their Helm Wager and are still going to manufactories and picking up pieces of 8. Do not do this. I have sank so many people and take their helm chests because they've done this. It's a terrible idea. Wait until you have the appropriate amount of pieces of 8 that you want to wager. If you want to make 100k, wait till you have 50k. And then activate the Helm Wager, and then go to the drop-off location. It is hard to do. It's not something you're going to be able to just do willy-nilly whenever you're early in the season. You need a lot of manufactories to be able to pull it off, but it is the best way to go to make sure that you're in open ocean. Now, I don't have a lot of clips of this build. The best ones I have done, I forgot to hit the record button, but I will be doing some big wagers this season and making videos out of them, even though I know those videos get like no views. But I will include a Helm Wager at the end where I took a guy's chest and then 2 other dudes tried to sink me, but they were unable to because this build was able to just knock their sails and run and get away so effectively. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the build here. Like I said, this is essentially focused on trying to grab the stuff and getting out of there and getting away. Not necessarily focused on sinking ships, although it can do it really effectively if you just learn how to use the build and fight with it. But it's essentially a speed build, a Keemstar build, if you will.
I'm fast as fuck, boy!
Hence the name. And so of course we are going to be using the Brigantine. Now they did recently make some changes to the Brig in Season 3. We no longer get the resistance to tearing, or the resistance to duration of tearing more specifically, which was big, did help us a lot, but it's not essential, it's not a deal breaker. As long as the people that we're up against aren't using this setup or something very close to it, we will always be able to outrun them. no matter what. As long as you're playing it smart, you're not going straight into headwinds, you will always be able to outrun anyone who's not running this exact setup, as long as you're consistently knocking their sails and not running into islands and not going into headwinds. As always, you can just pause the video if you want to read all of these stats, but for time's sake, we just kind of run through it and I tell you why I'm using each item. Alright, so for our weapons, we're going to be using the Great Springald 3 on the front. You can get this at Lenitra. You can get the blueprint for this to craft this at Lenitra. You just have to exchange monster teeth for it. And the reason we are using this on the front is because if someone does manage to get the chest or the map and get a good distance on us, this can hit them from very, very far away, further away than the long guns can. And so for the other 3 ports, we are using the Skurlock's long 9s. Ideally, what you're going to want to do, if possible, is build up the Torn Sails effect up to 1 hit away with the Springald, and then hit it with the Skurlock long 9s to finish it off, because this does build it up a little bit quicker than the Skurlock's long 9s, but the Skurlock long 9s gives us an extra 7,000 damage if we knock the sails with this hit. And then for our auxiliary, we are going to be using the Leopold 3 to apply flooding and slow them down even more on top of knocking their sails, as well as this being our main source of damage. For our furniture and PvP, we are still maining Black Prince for most PvP builds. However, there is a furniture coming out later on in the season. I forget what it's called and the exact effect of it, but it was very interesting and I think it's going to be incredibly effective on the new ship. And for our furniture, you can use the megaphone here if you want to just have higher DPS. But we're using dummy spring loader. Even though we're not using a spring loader, we are using the dummy spring loader to reduce the duration of incoming Torn Sails effect by 15%. So this is going to help offset the fact that we lost that Torn Sails duration buff on the Brigantine. Plus, you know, even when we did have that, I was still using this, and it is insane how short the duration of Torn Sails was back when we only had 40% Torn Sail duration on Brigantine plus this. And I believe there is another furniture that I don't have. I just don't remember which one it is. But yeah, we're mainly using it for that Torn Sails effect. The incoming flood charge is also very nice. It just keeps us from getting flooded or our sails torn. Make sure that we can, anybody who's not using this dummy spring loader, we're going to have a massive advantage on them. And then the reason we're going to be able to knock our sails faster than anybody else who's using the same weapons, if they're not using these 2 pieces of furniture, we're going to knock their sails faster than they're knocking ours. So the secondary damage is going to be your Torn Sails effect of your long guns and your ballista. We'll go back to the weapons here and we'll take a look at these. Okay, so if you see here on the Great Springald, it does 820 damage plus 195 piercing damage. And that's damage to weak points, so that's going to get a buff of 19%, as well as that tearing damage, which is also a secondary effect, and it increases damage by 50% when hitting sails. And so we'll take a look at these Skurlock long 9s. You get the piercing and tearing as well on that one. The main damage is going to be 2,665, but that 951 damage is going to get a 19% damage buff, and it's going to get more if we're hitting weak points, because that gets a 100% damage buff by the piercing buff right here, and then we also get tearing is going to get another 15, or the tearing is also going to get another 19% buff to the tearing damage. Alright, so I know that was a lot, that was kind of a mouthful and a lot to take in, but just basically understand that this means, running these means that we're knocking their sails way faster than they're knocking ours. And then also, for the sake of trying to maintain distance and making sure that we're moving faster than they are, we're going to be running lightened mast and leather rope grips. The leather rope grips is just to make sure that our stamina isn't getting depleted. The Brigantine eats through stamina like crazy, and yes, you can manage it pretty well with food, but when you're also trying to aim your shots and navigate your ship, it can be very difficult to try and maintain with just food, so you need a little bit of help with the leather rope grips here. And just trust me, you need this on a Brigantine in PvP. Especially for Helm Wagers and Cutthroat Cargo. It is a must to run leather rope grips, in my opinion. and lighten mast for the 13% acceleration. If I had the extra spot, I would actually probably run the other one. Let's see, balanced mast, I believe is what it is. Let's see if I have one. Oh, yep, there it is. Acceleration and deceleration by 8%. So then we'd have like, what, 21%? Yeah, we'd get 21% increased acceleration. That's pretty much going to do it for the video though, guys. Like I said, I'm going to put this Helm Wager at the end. I stealed his chest from this dude, and these two dudes chased me all the way to the drop-off point, but they are unable to secure the dub because I'm just too fast for them. Because you can't catch Keemstar. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I don't know what I'm going to do when we get to 750 subscribers, but I'd like to do some kind of 750 subscriber special and a 1,000 subscriber special as well. The 1,000 one's going to be really big. I don't know. Help me come up with ideas. If you have any, leave them in the comment section below. I was thinking about maybe jumping in the lake when it's winter or something, even though it's not that cold here. I mean, I live in Texas, so it doesn't get crazy cold, but it still gets pretty freaking cold, and there's days when it gets below freezing. Like I said, if you have any ideas, leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.